everyone, Ashley, Mailloux, and Mike here with the Saturday Daily Racing Form race of the day. It's going to be race 8 out at Los Al, mile and a 16th for the Grade 2 Los Al Futurity. And so you look at the field here, Mike, just a field of 5, but there are some big names in here, especially in the form of the 1 Gaming and the 3 Getaway Car, 2 of the 3 in the field here for Bob Baffert. And while there are the big names, maybe a fresh face in the form of the outside runner, the 5 Journalism.
We'll see if anybody can sort of up their game here and get to Gaming back in this spot. Ashley, I mean, he just feels like he's really, really well spotted out of a really good try at the Breeders' Cup last time.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I guess is the curiosity part here is Los Al. Obviously, these horses are coming out of Del Mar and Santa Anita, just a little bit of a different configuration. We'll see how they handle it. And you mentioned Gaming, probably the horse to beat on paper with that second place finish in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We'll take a look here at the Timeform US pace projections for the race. In Mellencamp, the other Bob Baffert, I guess, in the field from post 2, looks to probably have the lead if he wants it. Debuted at the 6 furlong distance and more recently at the mile, but he's still a maiden in here. And in both of those races, Mike, he has surrendered but could muddle things early.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how. I mean, I guess maybe one of the only interesting things about this race, Ashley, is to see how the pace could play out here. When you got all these Baffert horses in there, to me, that's always one of the major questions because you don't know which. They all have speed. You just don't know which one's going to go. To me, one of the biggest upsets in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile this year was that Getaway Car wasn't on ascend from post 2, and he wasn't. This horse is fast, man. His first 3 races, in fact, he had legit sprint speed at those races, making the lead, and they haven't used it since. Maybe they'll use it here.
We will find out. Compact field usually does kind of change jockeys and trainers' intentions, right? A little bit of a different race ride in these races. So we'll kick it off here with the number 1 Gaming. We'll take a look at that performance last time out in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And you talked about it with his post. He really wasn't on a send mission. He tracked throughout. And when it's all said and done, he comes up a length and a half short behind who? Citizen Bull, his stablemate.
Yeah, he ran really well in here. His stablemate was just better than he was. Citizen Bull got to the lead here and just very, very game try from Gaming. His stablemate's not letting him into the race here. He finished a really good second in this race. His first 2 starts pointed him out as a 2-year-old with some real talent. And I think it's pretty obvious that he's way the horse to beat in here.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about him all day long. He's got the 95 buyer, the level that he's faced in his 3 starts to this point. He was 5.5 clear on debut of Rank, who he faces again in here. There's just a lot of upside. Also, second time going long in his career, and he's just handled everything well so far. So I'm with you, Gaming, away the horse to beat in this spot. The 2 Mellencamp that we saw maybe can muddle things from the pace perspective. He's a maiden in the field. I guess my concern with him is just distance at this point. I mean, he just hasn't shown that he really has that punch to stick around, and he's going to jump up in class here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like he ran great last time when they stretched him out to the mile for the first time. I mean, he had a little trouble in that race, but it's not like it was a super strong performance. He has a little pedigree behind it. If you go to the second generation, especially, there's distance in there. So maybe ultimately he will stretch out. It kind of feels like he's entered here just so the race goes. I mean, they couldn't get anybody to run in it. Maybe they weren't going to go with 4. So Baffert made sure they had 5.
Hey, you said it. I was thinking it, but that is the feel that it gives, especially when you look at the other 2 Baffert runners, right? And we'll move on to the third in here, Getaway Car, who was 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. For him, he was a big price in there. He didn't take respect like his prior races out in California. And I think he raced fine. I think you kind of go down the page, and he just hasn't been in the same tier necessarily as Citizen Bull or Gaming to this point in his career.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, since they stretched him out, the races aren't bad at all. He was just no match for Citizen Bull 2 starts back, and he was no match for the 1-2 finishers last time. Again, I was in both of those races. I was kind of surprised that this horse wasn't looking for the lead either time. You go back and watch the start of the Breeders' Cup, Ashley, this horse broke very sharply from the gate. If he wanted the lead, especially with the horse who was inside the favorite stumbling, this horse easily could have been on the lead in that race, and they didn't want it. But he still got a good trip. He sat right behind Citizen Bull and Gaming on the lead. He was clear in the stretch, and he just wasn't good enough. And he got outfinished by a huge long shot for 3rd in there. He's a contender in this race for sure. I would actually be pretty interested in him if I just knew going in that they were going to send him to the lead in here. But I don't know if they're going to do that.
Yeah, and obviously it depends what they do with Mellencamp, right? We talked about what if Mellencamp scratches for some reason. That would change this completely. And I think the thing with Getaway Car, at least He shows up every time. The only time he didn't was 7 ace at Del Mar, and he was on the front end, and they just went way too quick for him going 7 ace, I think. I think that was kind of the demise of him. So share your same sentiments on the number 3 Getaway Car. The 4 Rank, just like Mellencamp, is a maiden in this field. I think if you're going to try to make a case for him at all, to me, the mile race last time out of Del Mar is probably his best, not just because he was second, but at least he showed some early foot in there and seemed comfortable to be forward. I do know he's still surrendered in the end, and journalism is able to close in on him, but his last 2 have certainly been a lot better stretching out.
Yeah, he ran okay last time. I mean, I don't think it's the kind of effort that makes you want to bet him back in a graded stakes race necessarily, but he did have to do a lot of hard work on the pace in that race before journalism came. We'll look at the replay of that in a minute. Journalism just comes and closes him down late, but this horse did a lot of the dirty work up on the pace. But if you're going to set that race aside and you're going to go back to earlier in his career, he's been in against Getaway Car, he's been in against Gaming, and he's just been no match for those horses.
No, we talked about it even kind of looking at the Gaming race back on August 11th. He was still 5.5 behind him and second best in that 9-horse field. So we talked about he was second last time out to journalism. Journalism is post 5 here in the final horse in the field. We'll take a look at that maiden special weight event at Del Mar back on the 17th of November. And journalism, he ran fine in his debut, but I think he just looked like he needed extra ground and distance. He gets it here, stretching out to a mile. And when it's all said and done, he's just going to cruise to the lead here. And you can see Rank, he's trying, but man, journalism just much the best.
Yeah, he was bred to get better with more distance. He got more distance here. He also got, again, I thought a really, really good trip because they sort of battled that pace out in front of him around the second turn, and he was just sitting in a perfect spot. And you saw the finish that he put in there. I did like the way that he finished it off, Ashley. It'll be interesting to see how he stacks up here with a couple of those Baffert horses.
And we've been talking about Bob Baffert, but Michael McCarthy has a couple of nice youngsters in the barn. Journalism may be one of them, and the other being Bullard. So field of 5 here in the Saturday DRF race of the day. Don't forget you can get free past performances for each day for that race of the day. And we'll jump into top pick time, and I'm just going to go with it. Yeah, we just both pick Gaming. I mean, there's no way around it in this field. I think we try to be clever sometimes, Mike, and you try to find a horse that either is better value or kind of a sneaky horse. That's just not the case in this race.
Yeah, this race is a bit of a yawner from a handicap and a wagering perspective, but I happen to be a huge Gaming fan, so I'm looking forward to seeing him race on Saturday.
We'll see what he can do. Just as that one defeat last time out in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I'm with you. The only difference here is we flip-flop Getaway Car and journalism. I do think Getaway Car is the main rival, if you want to say that. I do think this is Gaming's race to win, but for me, I'm always looking for a horse with a little bit of upside, right? And maybe an unknown. And that, to me, in the field, the only other horse to look to is the 5 journalism. I said Michael McCarthy's got a couple of nice youngsters in the barn, and it's going to come down to trip. We talked about it. It's going to happen. What happens to Mellencamp? What's the pace perspective? But regardless, I think it's safe to say Gaming is the horse to beat in the DRF race of the day this Saturday out at Los Al. It's race number 8, a post time about 7 p.m. Eastern. Best of luck.
Hey buddy, you look like you're in need of a winner, and just remember, if you like and subscribe right over here, you can get all of the great content on DRF.com, including race of the day, stakes previews, and lots more, featuring me and my superb selections. Trust me, you're not going to regret it.